This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
I guess I'm on.
Yes, you are. You are on.
What happened to my intro?
What, you didn't hear it? We just did
I
it.
honestly didn't hear it. So just in case anyone else didn't hear it, Acura Pembroke Pines Report every Monday and Friday with Ira Winderman from the South Florida Sun Sentinel.
Ira, you're the only one that didn't hear it. It was there. We played the whole thing. Yes, it's a sponsor. We got to do it, bro.
All right. As long as we're covered. I'm trying to make sure things are good for business, especially Big O. You know this. Pat Riley even said this when he arrived and he realized it. That Heat season often doesn't start till Dolphins season is over. He realized that this town had a certain attention span limit and would focus on one thing. So honestly, when that game ended last night, I even texted Anthony Chang. I said, Heat season starts today. This is the focus now. And the Heat know that. The Heat are huge Dolphins fans. They were rooting for them. You know, Udonis Haslem, a lifelong fan. Yeah. So these teams in town tend to root for each other more so than previously. They used to sort of bump heads. Now you can see on Twitter and social media, they're promoting each other. But now all of a sudden, I think there's going to be a lot more attention on the Heat than maybe they skated below the radar a little bit.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt there will be. But I was just talking about something because obviously Mike McDaniel needs to grow as a coach. And you've been covering the Heat for a long time, and you've watched Eric Spoelstra, also grow as a coach. And, I kind of feel that Mike needs to kind of steal a page or two from Spo. Spo did something very unorthodox, as when he started and in the offseason, he would visit coaches even in other sports.
Correct.
To find out how they do things and watch their practice habits and those kind of things. And I thought it was very cool on Spo's part to be that open about it. And then you start to think about how he has evolved as a coach with that positionless stuff. He's kind of the guy that started that trend here, in the NBA with the big three and all that stuff. And, oh, no, LeBron. Yeah, no, we're going to put you in the Bosh, we're going to make you more of a 3-point shooter. We're going to do things a little different here. And so, to me, I think McDaniel has a lot of room to grow. You know what I'm saying? But he may have to open himself up a little bit more to kind of reach those plateaus.
Well, the perfect example, Big O, is pace and space. Spo said he picked up some of that from Chip Kelly when he was running that early in his college career before he went to the NFL and back to college. And he learned from other sports. And he spent a lot of time with Dabo Swinney also in another sport. Here's the difference. I think Mike McDaniel is trying to cast himself as the anti-coach, as the different guy, a different perspective. You've been in those press conferences. It's like no other press conference in the NFL. He's just a guy. So when does he move off of that and realize there are certain conventions that are important to coaches in all sports, and you have to have that? And I'll give you the exact example. You have to be drilled to a point where you are ready for anything. I once spoke to a coach. Matter of fact, I can even say it. I spoke to an NBA coach when Tim Floyd came to the NBA. Came from Iowa State, from Chicago. Never should have been in the NBA. And the coach I spoke to said he didn't realize how fast things work in the pros, how you have to make split-second decisions, 24-second shot clock, fewer timeouts. I think what we saw with Mike McDaniel with the timeout, with the play calls coming in late yesterday is you've got to be quicker on your feet. It all has to be innate. It wasn't. You could see him. He's actually thinking about what to do instead of knowing what to do. Two things there. Experience. The more you go through it, the more you know it. But also getting yourself to a point where you realize you're a professional coach. You're in the number one seat now. You have to think quicker on your feet. I don't think the Dolphins showed that. I think you can say what you want about Belichick and what the Patriots didn't do this season, but the coaches who know what to do, it's instantaneous. Now, maybe with your third string quarterback, it's a little bit different, but that's where I think McDaniel has to go. He has to grow into more of a professional head coach. Eric Spoelstra grew into that, like you said, by learning from the best.
All right, let's the Heat, obviously a couple of solid wins for them against the Bucks over the weekend. No Giannis. I was hoping, why didn't he play on the second night?
Knee pain again. They are being very careful with him. They realize they have a greater goal. Unlike the Heat, they built enough of a cushion. They're going to get a top 4 playoff seed. They simply, if he shows up for work and says, you know what, this cold South Florida air, I wasn't prepared for it, my knee's locked up, you give him the day off. They're being careful. They have the cushion that the Heat don't.
Okay, so this leads me also to this. Gabe Vincent, your starter instead of Kyle Lowry? I'm just saying, bro. I mean, I'd rather give somebody the bulk of the minutes who's going to help me offensively, still distribute and help, in that area, help you a little bit defensively too. I just kind of like what I'm seeing here. The Kyle Lowry experiment. Can we put it on the bench? Can we have him run the second team?
Big O, there was a time when Kyle Lowry about 2 or 3 weeks ago was playing so poorly that someone very close to the Heat mentioned that. And he said, you know what? You know how you wake up Kyle Lowry's butt is you stick him on the bench, you give him that eye opener, and you make him realize this kid, undrafted, going to be a free agent, is playing better than you. But there's the other part of this, and this almost goes back to what you and I just spoke about, Mike McDaniel. You have to manage personalities in pro sports. Kyle Lowry has started each of the last, I believe it's 600 games that he has played. He has been a starter in the NBA. If you put him on the bench, you might lose him. So here's what you have to think, Coach Orlando Alzugaray. You're now the new Eric Spoelstra. Can you risk losing Kyle Lowry? Not even having him as a factor, just like you are right now with Dwayne Dedmon. Let's face it, Dwayne Dedmon might not play the rest of the season. If Orlando Robinson plays this well, if Omar Yurtseven comes back and plays well, you don't need him. But no offense, he's only Dwayne Dedmon. He's a journeyman center. Kyle Lowry is your $36 million starting point guard. Can you afford to lose him at this point? When Kyle Lowry is good, he makes passes that no other Heat point guard is capable of. But he has to be engaged. He has to be available. He has to give up. You can add whatever word you want in there. That's the difference. Somehow they've got to find a way to push Kyle Lowry's buttons. Maybe that's not Eric Spoelstra. Maybe that's Jimmy Butler who brought him here. Maybe that's his other veteran teammates. Kyle has to be better than he's been this season. I fully agree with you.
My point, but that's my point here is who the hell says you're going to get better? You haven't seen better. I mean, what are we supposed to keep waiting? You're a 36-year-old man. Either you show up or you don't show up, dude. Either you can get the job done or you can't. Gabe provides a hell of a lot more right now. And, one of the things that last year kind of sucked, right, was the young guys were in a groove. And then all of a sudden, when everybody got healthy, we kind of discarded the young guys and put them to the side, and they didn't get the same amount of playing time, and then they lost their groove. Well, this kid now is in a groove. He can't keep this groove if you give him limited minutes off the bench.
You're right.
He's giving you way more production than Kyle Lowry's, 4 or 5 excellent passes that he can give. I'd rather get 15, 20, 25 points from Gabe Vincent. I'd rather get his 3-point shooting and I know he's not going to give me 10, 12 assists. That's not who he is, but might give me 6, might pick up a steal or 2. So I'll take that along with a whole bunch of points and not a lot of turnovers. I'd rather have that kind of an upside, and I'd rather try to look to my future than actually a past that was never part of your present.
So you know what I would do? I would tell Kyle Lowry this. Stop pacing yourself. We understand at 36, you've learned over the years how to pace yourselves toward the playoffs. We don't need that anymore for this reason. We don't have to get 36 minutes out of you a game. We have Gabe Vincent over here. We have Victor Oladipo over here. We have players who can play the other minutes you can't. So instead of giving me 36 paced, that's, air quotes here for those who are listening on the podcast, minutes, go balls to the wall. Go all out for 20, for 22, for 24. Show me in 20 or 22 or 26 minutes, you can be the old Kyle Lowry. I'll fill in those other 22 minutes. I have Gabe Vincent. I have Victor Oladipo. I have Max Strus. I have Tyler Hero when he's coming back today in Atlanta. I have those guys. That's what I would tell Kyle. I understand at 36, you believe it's your mandate to pace yourself. I'm saying that's over. For the exact reasons Orlando Alzugaray said, we have Gabe Vincent. We have Victor Oladipo. We have others now you didn't have confidence in at the start of the season or last season. who now can fill in those minutes. You know what? When you have depth, I want every player coming off that court dog-tired. I want players raising their hand, get me out of there. Eric Spoelstra uses this term all the time, and I think it's the perfect term for Kyle Lowry. Empty your tank. When you play as hard as you can, and then someone else will come in and help you. Kyle clearly has been pacing himself. I hope it's not for his next contract, because I think at 38, there's not going to be another next contract like this. You're making 36 this year, about 38 next year. Hey, at 38 years old, that might be the end of the line, finish on top. I would try to get someone to motivate him that way. I don't know if that's motivatable.
Well, he's kind of preparing for that last year of the contract, living in Minnesota or Sacramento or somewhere like that for that final year as the Heat move him for some kind of a body that's out there.
And that's what someone told me. And that's what someone told me, that if this continues, the exact quote I had was Pat Riley will ship his ass to Sacramento. That's the exact quote someone told me that they will do, because you know what? They gave Jimmy Kyle because he wanted him. They giving Kyle a 2-year run, really had a chance to compete far more than Toronto, which has fallen off the face of the earth again. But what are you going to do for me? So again, I've never felt that Kyle Lowry was a Heat culture player. I've always felt that Kyle Lowry picked up his own culture over the years. And every time we've offered him one of those Spoisms, he's gone, yeah, but the way I did it in Toronto, the way I did it here, the way I've been doing it. And I understand that. Some players come in and buy in. Look, Big O, you know what it is? It's a cult. Not a cult in a bad way, but it's a cult. And if you don't buy into the cult, and I haven't for years, and I butted heads with the Heat because of it, but if you're a player and you're part of it, you have to buy into the cult. I don't think that buy-in has been full. It has been with Jimmy Butler. It's been with Bam. It's been with Tyler. They've said, this is the Heat way. I understand it. Kyle's just a little different sort of cat.
Old dog can't learn new tricks. So
possibly, yeah.
That's why Lowry and Dedmon are finding themselves on the outside looking in. There's a Heat way or the highway. It's just kind of the way it is. Oladipo, it's paying off, man. It's really paying off. I know you wrote about it also in the Sun Sentinel, but it's a game in, game out. It's really nice to see the body holding up, and then it's really nice to see that the performances are also stacking up.
I spoke to someone in management in the front office who works for Pat Riley, and he said, the reason I like working here is this. Pat gives you a defined goal. We want you to do this, and if you do this, we will reward you. And the person I spoke to said, every day when I go to work, I know what they want. I know what they want me to achieve. And I know if I have achieved that, there will be a payoff. That's what they did with Victor Oladipo. We know you're a former All-Star. We know you're former All-NBA. But we want you to be a sixth man, which is why with all these injuries, with Tyler, with Kyle, with Jimmy, so many players out, Duncan Robinson, all but one game, Victor Oladipo has played as a sixth man. Because as I wrote today in the Sun Sentinel, it'll be in your doorstep in the paper tomorrow, Eric Spoelstra said in camp, this is the role we envision for you. We want you to excel at it. And he said, there's not many former All-NBA players who are willing to do that when they're only 30 years old. So far, so good. I think it's going to work out fine the rest of the season. He's been terrific in that role. He's been the energizer to a degree that Tyler Hero was last season when he was sixth man of the year. No longer are you and I debating every Monday and Friday on our Acura Pembroke Pines report whether Tyler should go back to sixth man. We now have a sixth man, so it's been that much easier. My question is, after this season, when he can be a free agent, I mentioned this in my story, is Victor Oladipo is sold, but you know what? You do this incrementally. Victor, get us to the end of this season as the best damn sixth man you can be. We'll deal with the future in the future. So far, it's worked out perfectly.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So give us the latest on all the injuries.
Tyler Hero is off the injury report, which is very rare for a player who is out 3 games not to be listed as questionable or probable or doubtful. So he's back. They wanted to manage that Achilles. They wanted to manage it against the matchups. That's important to the Heat. It'll give other guys rest. I think Caleb Martin comes back today also. God bless Haywood Highsmith. He goes back to his when needed type of role. He's there. The Kyle Lowry knee soreness. Matter of fact, I think it's being listed now as knee discomfort. I find that odd for the Miami Heat culture. Pat Riley always says you can be injured and you can be hurt. When you're injured, you don't play. We understand it. When you're hurt, you do every last breath you can to get on the court. It's very interesting. I think the Heat are giving Kyle Lowry a midseason break right now. We're right about the middle of the schedule. They're doing well enough. I think their thought is, when you come back as your best self, but not before that. Again, I think he's getting treated differently than other players on the team. He is listed as...
I mean, it's this franchise has changed.
Yes,
it has. They have softened up, man.
Oh, they absolutely have. You get golf clubs on the team playing right now. I mean, you get things you've never seen before. But you know what? I think Eric Spoelstra has learned. You can't be Pat Riley anymore. The players are not buying that anymore. Not just in Miami. You know what happens when the Golden State Warriors travel, Big O? Steph Curry checks into a private house or his own hotel. He doesn't want to deal with the fan crush. Think about that. That's how this league has changed. It used to be maybe Michael Jordan could do that. Now other players do that. We've seen Jimmy Butler do that. It's different times. If you want to be hard-ass coach, you can't be Bill Parcells anymore in the NFL. I don't think you can be Pat Riley anymore in the NBA. The players rule the league. So Kyle Lowry, I think, is being given a sort of vacation right now to try to win him back. Big O, old guys like you and me.
Dude's been on vacation since he got here, bro.
But the Heat are still trying to find a way to get through to him, to get him to be his best self. I can see you shaking your head right there. I can't
wait till they unload his ass. Really, seriously. It's just, I hated this contract from the get-go, and it's been nothing but a freaking disaster. You got a young kid in Vincent that is playing his ass off, and he did it last year, and then he got discarded with him and Caleb and all that, and they got out of there, and now he's back in a role, and he's playing well. You know, it's just like, it's like watching Kader Kahu play so well, and then all of a sudden you go sign some vet and just throw the kid to the bench. No, man, this is your future. This kid's playing well. Keep him out there. He's better for your team. I don't see, when I look at the pros and cons, the cons outweigh the pros so much with Kyle Lowry that there's nothing about him that makes it, you know, like worth this. Yeah.
There is something, and it's called the salary cap. And in a salary cap league, when you've invested roughly a quarter of your salary cap in one player, you've got to try to make it work, especially when you have another year left on his contract, either as a player or as a trade chip to build value. You have to work on that also. Everyone's mentioning now.
Yeah, it would be harder to move if you start making it even uglier. I get it.
And even everyone's mentioning right now, oh, take D'Angelo Russell's expiring contract from Minnesota. You're off Lowry's deal next year. Well, Minnesota has to be motivated in their desperation with Rudy Gobert to make the playoffs this year that Kyle Lowry is actually something that can provide a net gain. That's where you get into trouble there. You have to try to build value up. You build value up this way by letting him get fully healthy, come out and have a nice 4, 5, 6, 8 game run before that February 9th NBA trading deadline.
Makes sense. When you're right, you're right. What do you got going on in the Sun Sentinel, my man, so folks can check you out?
Well, we mentioned the Victor Oladipo story. He's playing his six-man role perfectly. I wrote in my Ask Ira today at sunsentinel.com. Haywood Highsmith has done so well with Caleb Martin out. Could you craft a role for him that he actually gets in the rotation? I think the only way they do that is not to go big off the bench. Don't play Dwayne Dedmon. Don't play Orlando Robinson. That depends on opponents. Tonight, Clint Capella looks like he'll be back for the Hawks. You might need another big body. Does Dwayne Dedmon get one more chance? I think that'll be interesting. Heat Hawks, 3:30 p.m. today, TNT only. So we'll have live game coverage in the Sun Sentinel tomorrow at your doorstep as well.
Panthers at 1, Heat at 3:30. This is just, oh, man, it's crazy stuff. All right, follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat and catch his exceptional work there at the Sun Sentinel. Better yet, do what I do. Subscribe, man, and support Ira and all the exceptional writers there at the Sun Sentinel. Ira, thank you. We will catch up on Wednesday with
9 a.m. RedRecover.com Inside the Paint Show with Kurt Heelan. And hopefully we'll still be talking about the surging and streaking Miami Heat. Thanks, Big O.
Let's hope so. We need it. All right, Ira, be good. Heat right now are, 4 games above 500. So they're on a little roll. I was hoping that it would be a Giannis night on the back-to-back, but unfortunately. But, hey, they got the win. That's all that matters. That is your Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA reports.
This is the Big O Show. O Show.